Good. I can see her in the.
Okay, yes,
Ah,
she has
okay.
started. Wonderful. All right. Hello, everyone. I hope you're doing super duper well today. Today we have a very special session. This is the first time we do something like this at the Gaming Academy. It is going to be a conversation with a really good friend of mine, and we're gonna talk a bit about how you are supposed to get started in games to a certain extent. So today with us we have Nicole, and Nicole is part of Spoonful Games, and she has one of the best um, well, marketing tools that I've seen for her studio, and like I can't show it to you at the moment because it's not around me, but I'll show it to you later on. Someone remind me in the chat and I'll send it. But yeah, Nicole, welcome. It's great to have you here.
Thank
If you'd like to
you.
tell us a bit about you, that would be amazing.
Sure. Well, I'm Nicole, as you just heard, and might have read. I'm an art director for Spoonful Games, a company I founded with some of my commilitones after studying games. And I'm also a business developer. So basically, I'm extremely privileged to not only make things in games look pretty, which is a lot of fun, but also I get to meet a lot of inspiring and cool people in the industry, like Ash, for example. So there's that. It's full circle. Went full circle.
Very, very
Um,
wholesome.
yeah.
Awesome. And where are you staying at the moment?
I'm based in Germany. That's where I grew up. I moved to Cologne a year ago, exactly a year ago actually, because I felt like most events kind of are focused in Cologne, so it felt very natural for me to move here and be close to the industry, the heart of it all, basically. As
Awesome.
Gamescom, for example, for those of you that know it, probably most people know it. It's based here as well.
Yeah, actually, the Gaming Academy partnered up with DEF CON this year. We gave away a total of 6 tickets for in-person online talks.
Oh,
So,
nice.
so yeah, some people have heard of it. But for those that haven't, since you opened the topic, what can you tell us about like Gamescom and DEF CON? Have you enjoyed it? Do you like the stuff there? What is it that makes it interesting to be at these events?
Well, besides the fact, of course, that there's a lot of business opportunities in there, as in you can meet a lot of people, like shake a lot of hands that might help you in the future. You get to meet incredible people. And I find it incredibly inspiring in a way. So for me, mostly these events are reconnecting with the why. Why am I into games? Why do I like this industry? And it's gushing and nerding with other people and being excited about projects, being excited about cool new things happening. And Gamescom or all kinds of events are the place to be for specifically that thing. You get to see like fun new prototypes of people that are like showing their game, showcasing their stuff. You get to just hear what it's like developing games in other countries, of course, as well, right? Because I mean, and make no mistake, it's definitely a different thing to do games in Germany or in Lebanon, for example. So that's really, really awesome to reconnect with other people and get to know what it's like in other places as well. Um, so events like that are generally just awesome for this specific reason. For me, I just look forward to connecting with people, networking, you might say. The tiny tad, like the thing that I don't like about these type of events is that they're not particularly inclusive, like accessible. As you said, right, you were sponsoring or you're giving tickets to 6 people. I don't see a lot of people getting to DEF CON or Gamescom without these type of opportunities. I think the last time I checked, a DEF CON ticket is around 1,000 euros, which is just insane. Like, how are you supposed to get there and network or meet people without like already secured funding or like people helping you out and so you can get there. So wonderful opportunities, but also very, very privileged to be able to actually attend these type of things. So I'm making no mistake there for sure. But yeah, I mean, it made me meet you, so that's really cool.
Yeah, it is awesome. Honestly, whoever gets a chance to go to these events and stuff, it's always really, really, really fun to see because you get to
I
meet
agree.
different people with like same mentality. You get to meet people that might be working on something you're interested in. Maybe you can find a team. So speaking of which, can you tell us a bit about, well, since this talk is about going from student to the industry, what was it like? Like, what did you decide to study? Did you always want to make games, or was it something like that just happened, basically? So yeah.
It's funny you'd ask that, honestly, because it was really coincidental in a way. I think I was always very creative and always wanted to do something artsy, but I grew up with parents and like an environment that discouraged me from doing it because it's not gonna pay your bills, you know, maybe you've heard a similar thing. So I was definitely focused on maybe doing something like I don't know, I wanted to translate, which is now obsolete as we might know, unfortunately. But just not work with the creativity. And I remember playing Skyrim with a friend of mine and being like, "Oh, what do we do after graduation? Oh my God, I don't know where to go." And he was like, "You know, someone makes these games. Why couldn't it be you?" And it kind of just blew my mind that that's like an actual thing. Of course, I've been playing games my entire life. Like the fondest memories I have of my childhood is me and my sister playing all these games and just bonding over the stories or how a bug made it impossible to reach the next level. Like it was just my childhood. Then it just it became a thing that could like actually be my profession. So what I did was try to find out how to get into games. And I saw a ton of private schools and knew that I wasn't going to be able to actually pay them because we're talking about huge sums for sure. So I talked to a lot of people that I met on Gamescom when I was still just a consumer of games and not a developer. And they recommended me to look into free resources. There's courses on Udemy. YouTube is an amazing platform for these type of things. There's a lot of free resources, and a lot of people use that as an in into the industry. But for me, because I know I'm a very chaotic person that has a lot of struggle organizing themselves, I wanted to make sure that maybe I can get into university. And there's this one free university, like not entirely free, but like a public school instead
Hmm.
of a private school in Germany. It's called Cologne Game Lab. Maybe some of you might have heard it. I can very heartily recommend it. And I only had to pay semester fees there, so it seemed like a viable option to me. So I
Hmm.
worked a lot to save the money to go study there and applied for a program called Digital Games, which was a
Hmm.
broad, very broad track. So it had media sciences, it had economy, it had programming for the first few semesters, design and arts, until I could choose the one track that I wanted to specialize in, which was arts. So that's how I got in, basically. I made sure I have the money to pay the university, was lucky enough to be accepted in one that wasn't gonna financially, you know, rip my head off.
Yeah.
And then I started studying.
Cool. Awesome. And so basically, you got into a games program, you studied a bit of everything, and then you ended up specializing in the thing you like most, which is arts, basically, correct?
Exactly. That's how it happened, basically.
Okay, that's very, very cool. And do you think that everyone should try to get into a university, or is it more like, because you mentioned the free resources, you mentioned the free resources as well at the beginning.
Mhm.
So is this something you think could be enough, or is there something else that we need so that people can join the industry?
It's a very, very good question. Again, I feel like when deciding something like this, it is very important to think about your own situation. For example, are you in a place where you could comfortably study that? Can you move? Can you pay a move? Can you pay rent somewhere? Can you pay a course as well? Because these courses or studying at the university, they will come with a lot of pluses, a lot of positive things. For example, you have the structure. As I
Hmm.
mentioned earlier, I'm someone that struggles with structuring my own everyday life. So if I have something that gives me like a broad like yeah, structured basically things that I have to attend, so I know I have to get up at a certain amount of like at a certain time in the morning or like get done things done until a certain deadline. If that's how you work, maybe a course at a university might be useful for you. Also, you have a lot of mentors and professors that are already readily available to you. You don't have to like look for them online. They're there and they're
Yeah.
mostly very eager to help, which is very, very useful as well. Um, Many universities help you build a portfolio within the classes. Mine kind of did, but also I was focusing on so many other courses that
Hmm.
weren't related to my specialization that that kind of fell under the rug. But I know that a lot of universities do this and offer this, so that's super useful as well. And of course, what's really, really cool is that you get to work on, at least for me, it's on semester projects.
Yeah.
And because they were international, I was very, very quickly thrown into communicating with people from different countries. So very
Mm.
quickly you notice, oh, like things work differently from country to country, from culture to culture, right? So these are
Yeah.
things that you suddenly notice. There's biases that you have to encounter, right? You learn project management early on. And also, what is a really cool thing as well is that you are in direct contact with people of the other tracks. So I had to work early on with a programmer, with a designer, within university, and that helped me so much because I feel like since I knew what they needed in order to be able to work,
Hmm.
I could work more efficiently with them and give them the
Mm.
things that they need. Um, so there's a lot of interdepartment work that happens at university, which really helped me prepare for future projects within companies. So that's really cool. But of course, you could also say, hey, I'm just gonna join some game jams. It will do the
Mm.
same thing for you, of course. You get to meet a lot of people from all around the world. You get to connect with them and see into their departments as well, which will make you more valuable within your job. So it doesn't have to necessarily be a university if you want to dive into other different yeah possibilities for getting in.
Hmm.
Um, so there's that. I would definitely say you don't have to go into university. It will give you structure. It will give you a good way to start, and like show you the way of, oh, now you have to learn this. Oh, you have to learn this.
Yeah.
All these things are the things that you can learn. Um, it is possible without, but it will probably need a little bit more elbow grease from what I can like, from what I heard from people around me.
Hmm.
There's
Hmm.
also a lot of people that study other things and go into the games track afterwards with their skills. So a
Yeah.
lot of yeah, people that just start somewhere else. For example, I met someone at a exhibition that started studying aeronautics.
Wow.
And yeah, yeah, it's super cool. They work in a really, really cool facility here in Germany, even with NASA and everything. And she
Crazy.
ended up in games. So that works too. It's a matter
Yeah.
of just, getting into jams and
Yeah.
connecting with people.
Games isn't rocket science after all, so it might be more fun, I guess. But
It does feel like it sometimes though, don't you think? Oh
honestly,
my
yeah,
God.
yeah, absolutely. Truly, honestly, like the kinds of games people have been making, it's like, how do you even get this to run on a computer? Like, I don't understand. Yeah,
Yes.
looking at Elden Ring at the moment. But anyway,
Yeah.
yeah, that's very, very fair. Honestly, it's really cool. I like that you mentioned game jams as well, because technically here, one of the things we're trying to do with the Gaming Academy, is we're getting people to try to make their own games, and a lot of people aren't really sure how to start, mostly
Mm,
because they've never made a game before. So, generally, the way we structure the Gaming Academy is we ask people to form teams by mentioning what they're good at in some certain channels on Discord, and then we ask them to start making a game according to like specific like a timeline, and they have to
mhm,
submit something for their own good. The end product is at the end of 6 or 8 weeks, they need to submit a fully made game. It can be as small or as big as they want it to be, as long as it works. But a lot of people still struggle with the first step, mostly because they're not sure where to go. So, whenever you want to make a game, how do you feel like your first steps would be to basically just get started in making something, whether it be for your portfolio or for yourself, or just different scales, basically.
mhm. That is a really good question. I would always recommend to use all the resources you have. So again, YouTube courses, for example. I can confidently say that 90% of my skills are YouTube based. So that is definitely a very, very valid thing. If it's your first game, I understand that it's probably a hard thing to do because you don't have as much experience yet but I would try to adjust your scope. I love like this phase where you brainstorm with your friends or your team, like, oh, this we could do this game, we could do that, you know, and that's incredibly fun. It's the best part of it all, just letting your imagination run free and get inspired. But it is very, very important that you maybe focus on learning a few tiny new skills and not something like that has hundreds of things where you don't quite know how to do it yet. So make sure that you find a proper scope. And again, I know it's hard as someone that doesn't have experience. So in that case, I would definitely advise you to talk to people that do have experience and that do can give you estimations of, oh, something like that, and you've never done that before,
Mhm.
that might be really hard. Maybe you want to think about that again, you know? So feel like really don't be scared to get feedback in and to talk to people that have more experience in than you. That is honestly very, very vital. We do it all the time. Only yesterday, we had a call with Rami Ismail,
Yeah.
just because it is extremely useful to have people that know this stuff and can give you feedback that is valuable, and push you into right directions. Also play to your strengths. For example, my friend, who's also my teammate, Luke, he applied to the Cologne Game Lab with an
Mhm.
entire game. He made a game, and he's not a
Nice.
programmer. So what he
Wow.
did is he used the tools that he had, and he made a game in RPG Maker because that's what he could do. And it's valid.
Nice.
It's a game. It worked. You could play it. So also, again, it's a matter of getting to know the tools that are at your disposal, use
Yeah.
them, and play your strengths. And what I also think is very important is helpful is paper prototyping. So instead of already trying to program something or like work in engine, try to figure out the rules of the game, the mechanic of the game, maybe in paper, maybe while talking to people, because then early on you can find out, is it fun?
Hmm.
Because
Hmm.
sometimes we're so like caught up in, oh, I would love to do this thing and that would be so cool, and then there's sparks and fire, and oh, but it's not fun. And
Yeah.
ultimately, I guess most of us want to make experiences that are fun for other people, for players. So I would recommend to find out whether it's fun early on with before really starting, maybe in paper prototyping, and also by getting a lot of feedback in and being open to reiterate. So if someone's like, oh, but that's not fun, and it's your darling, and you're so in love with it, but you had so many ideas for it, it hurts. It
Yeah.
sucks. It's so painful. But ultimately, it's a very, very useful skill to have to be able to just, you know, let it go and go with the next thing because our brains are amazing. And I guarantee you, you will have hundreds and thousands of great ideas, and there will be more and more and more. And it's gonna be okay if one of them isn't gonna fit. So be open to reiterate. That's also something I would recommend for sure for your first games.
Awesome. Great. So I guess to summarize all of this, because these were a lot of points.
Sorry.
No, it's good. It's
It's the
great,
chaos.
honestly. It's fantastic. So basically start small, and then whatever you think is small, go smaller because you have no idea how big the thing you're making is. Ask for advice and for feedback on whatever it is you're making because that would
Exactly.
help give you an idea about where you're scoping and how big the thing is. Ask your friends what they think of the game because if they think it makes sense and it's cool, then that's great. If they don't, then just find something new. And yesterday we were talking about killing babies, and the babies are ideas. So yeah, we realized that kill your darlings might be a bit better, but the concept
It
is there.
sounds
Just
better for sure. I mean, it's
yeah,
still harsh, but yeah,
yeah,
babies, eh, maybe
eh,
not.
yeah,
But I'm glad you talked about it. It's a very important thing, and I feel
yeah.
like nothing really prepares you for it. It still is painful every time it happens, because you
Hmm.
pour
Hmm.
your heart into it. We're all in this industry, or we want to enter this industry because we're passionate about it, right? And we have
Hmm.
creative things. This is an outlet in a way. And
Yeah,
then just having to let go is it's part of the whole
exactly.
thing. It's a part, but my God,
Yeah, 100%.
it's
I
painful.
remember. It really is. I tried once making a game based off of like a silly childhood game that we made that we used to
Uh-huh.
play as kids, and I can see why kids play it because it wasn't as fun as an adult. So, but because it was in a game jam, I realized I could
Yeah.
just iterate on it, create it very quickly, and then call it a day. The only way I was able to make it fun was by adding funny sound effects here and there and like squishing and squashing the characters. The game itself wasn't fun, but it was entertaining. So there are always ways to like fix things and just know where you have to quit and know where you have to go.
Fair
But
enough,
yeah,
definitely. And also, I mean,
mm,
it's a valid thing. If it's something that kids play, like that's totally fine. It's totally valid.
yeah,
Not everyone's gonna be your target group, and that's totally fine and valid too.
mhm,
So there's that.
100%.
But yeah, feedback. Feedback helps. So you get to know
Absolutely,
like what works.
100%.
Honestly, I'm impressed if a kid found your game like fun. I remember playtesting one of our games with like I think he was like 11 years old or something, and he played one level and stopped, looked at us, and was like, "Yeah, but like this is really, really boring." And everyone
That's
in the
so
room was
painful.
just crushed, like, "Oh my
Ah,
God." Because we thought he was gonna be our target group. We were sure we were gonna market to kids, right? And he's
yeah,
like,
yeah,
"This is boring. Can I play
that's not
something
fun.
else?" Oh
Uh,
my God.
that's really, really painful.
Yes.
Yeah, one of my friends had the opposite idea. So basically, um, okay, I can't talk about the first game, but basically one of my friends made a game about, it was a rage game where you have to like
Hmm.
climb up letters in Arabic. It was a really, really cool game. So I showed it to my
Nice.
little cousin and he was like, I want to try. And he actually really enjoyed it. It was kind of frustrating because he never enjoyed my games as much as he enjoyed this one. But honestly, it's
No.
okay. It's fine. I'll throw in the towel.
Oh
But yeah.
God. Oh
Um,
no. I mean, at
so
least
yeah,
you knew he was like honest. I feel like that's a very, very good thing as well. To just know you can
absolutely.
trust the feedback and not someone be like, I don't know
Completely.
about you guys or about you, Ash, but like whenever I showed something to my parents, they'd be like, yeah, this is wonderful. And
Yeah.
then to themselves, they'd be like, oh my God, I hope she
Yeah,
never does this
exactly.
as a job, you know? Like it's cool to ask
100%.
people that are brutally honest. It's valuable for sure.
You know, it's like they go like, "Wow, great. Yeah, I'm just gonna go now."
Yes,
So yeah,
exactly.
yeah, I agree. Like, yeah, someone just said that kids are always honest, and honestly, they are painfully honest. That's a lot of honest in the same sentence. But yeah, they are great playtesters specifically because they don't care about your feelings, whether you like it or not.
That's true.
So
Oh,
yeah,
I love that. Competing with Fortnite over shrinking attention spans.
yeah, it really
Yes,
is no joke.
it's a
Mm.
thing. It's definitely a thing
Yeah,
for
but
all
that's
of
also
us.
why 100% exactly. But also that's why you have target audiences. Like you're not gonna market a game like Solitaire to kids. You're gonna market it to people that might want to play something, while they're like sitting in the car while someone else is driving or something of the sort. So different target audiences, different kinds of games. And yeah, speaking of your game actually, what's your studio like? Where do you start out? Like what is work life like? I guess since we already talked about the school part. So,
Fair
you
enough.
graduated, congrats, you got a
Yay,
job.
thank you.
So what's that
Yeah.
like?
I mean, not only did I get a job, I just made it myself.
That's crazy. That's crazy. Fantastic.
It is. I feel like I was in the same spot that many, many students find themselves in. I came out of university, felt ready to conquer the gaming industry, and I applied and applied and applied. And then you're still like, oh, it's gonna be fine. It's gonna be fine. I'm just gonna work some more in my portfolio. It's gonna work. And then you apply some more. And sometimes you're lucky and someone's like, we're not interested, but at least you heard something, right? And you're
Yeah.
not counting on maybe something coming in. And that is soul crushing. So I had a lot of that.
Hmm.
And I remember talking to some of my commilitons that became very, very close friends throughout the studies. And they were thinking about just founding their own company because why not just work together? We've
Yeah.
always had like cool times together, making our own projects at university. So we figured might as well just try doing it ourselves, right?
Hmm.
So we founded Spoonful Games. Is someone not muted, maybe? Sounds like anyway,
Keep going. Sounds
my
it's good. Yeah, go on.
awesome. Yeah, my brain is just instantly distracted, like, oh, a butterfly. Huh.
Happens all the
Anyway,
time.
it happens all the time.
Hmm.
Yeah, but I'm laughing about kids with like no attention span, like basically the same thing. Anyway, uh, so we figured, hey, let's just make our own company, and My God, it's been a ride, honestly. I feel like I've made the best experiences of my life within this constraints, within this company, because of all the opportunities it gave me to meet new people and to also learn about myself a lot, because you really get to challenge yourself. My God, we're really naive when we went in, and everyone tells you like, oh, like you have to, this is so hard, it's so hard, but you're like,
I got this. Yeah.
it'll be fine. It'll be fine. Let's see how it goes. And then you're like, oh my God, it's exactly as hard as people said it was gonna be, and even harder.
Yeah.
Because it's your own thing, and you can't just say like, oh, we have a deadline next week. I'm sorry, but my time is over today. I already worked for my hours.
Hmm.
I'm done. So goodbye, you guys. Like, of
Yeah.
course, you want to succeed. You want to keep going. You want to hand in whatever it is that you have to hand in. So you do it, and that's a very, very hard thing about having your own company or being on your own, basically, as in like a freelancer as well. I feel like those are probably they will experience the same pain as well of, yeah,
Yeah.
it needs to be done, so you will get it done, right? So there's that. My God, I'm rambling all over the place. Um, I feel like it is a very valuable thing for me personally that I did it with friends of mine, because there's a lot of communication to be had. You will
Yeah.
have, or I'm constantly encountering a lot of very stressful periods of time where we don't have money, or we don't know where to go, or we just got feedback by a kid for our prototype, and apparently it's shitty, and we've been working on it for way too long. Like, how do we deal with this?
Yeah.
And you need a team that you truly trust and that you can communicate really, really honestly with in order to overcome these type of things. I know a lot of people say don't go into business with your friends,
Yeah.
and I would honestly disagree, as long as you are ready to have the hard conversations and the
Hmm.
hard, like the very honest communication. Um, because you will have to question yourself and be like, oh, maybe I screwed up. Maybe I have this one particular thing in my workflow that is making it harder for other people. Maybe I don't communicate good, like you really have
Yeah.
to be open to question yourself and to learn new things about yourself and about the industry in order to exist successfully and not have tons of anger build up for your colleagues as well, right? Because that's a
Yeah.
thing, of course. Like, oh, that he said this thing, and I enjoy him, I like him, but like that was fucked up, and then you never like talk about it again, and it just piles up, and there's this negative energy that happens, or that's really something you gotta identify and
Hmm.
talk about before it yeah, gains control over the whole dynamic, I would say. So
Yeah.
there's that. Um, Also, be prepared for a lot of bureaucracy and not a lot of deving, honestly.
Really?
It's something that surprised me a lot. But a lot of time that we're spending is spent on securing the next funding or making sure that we exist.
Hmm.
For us, that's also a lot of commission work. We're constantly working on commissions.
Yeah.
So it's paperwork. And my God, do I have a happy day if I get to open like Blender or Unity or whatever it is that I want to work with. It's like, wow, oh my God, true. I forgot. I'm a game dev. I do dev stuff.
Yeah.
So that's definitely something no one prepared me for in a way, or maybe people warned me, but I didn't want to hear. Um,
Hmm.
so that's definitely a huge thing. Paperwork. Paperwork. Everybody loves paperwork. I agree, Emily. It's a thing. My God. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's part
Wow,
of it.
okay. So, what is your studio like? Because now we have like an idea about the dynamics of running your own studio, and it's
Yes.
basically lots of paperwork and lots of trying to keep the company afloat through either finding funding or by
Hmm.
doing commissions. But um, I'm gonna steal John's question and kind of like reframe it for a second. What is your studio like? Like, how do you all work together? Are the roles divided
Yes.
by person? Is it like a flat hierarchy, or is it like so, you know.
Yeah, yeah, good call. Yeah, that's an interesting thing. We're four founders. We're lucky enough to have one of our founders' mom with us, and she's the fifth one, but kind of in the shadow, and she usually takes care of a lot of the finances, which is really helpful.
Amazing.
Um, we have one programmer. He's Tom.
Mhm.
He's our CEO, and our other CEO is Hannah, and she's a game designer. And other than that, it's me, the artist, and Luke, who is also a designer. We have a flat hierarchy, so we basically all the things we decide as a team. No one is paid more or anything. We try to really just work together as best as possible. And yeah, I feel like one of the things that happens really quickly when you have a small studio is that you become a jack of all trades. So you embrace the fact that you're not just gonna work on one thing. Like I don't know, I know that a lot of people in AAA, for example, they get assigned the task of placing chests in Witcher or something, and then that's all you do, placing chests or like making sure that grass looks nice in the game. And that's not how it works in a small company. You will have to do all the things. Of course, I don't get, fortunately, don't have to program a lot or anything, but I know I have to do shader work sometimes. Sometimes I have to do 2D stuff that I've never done before. Or suddenly we need UI. I guess that needs to be done. Someone needs to do the paperwork. Like you really embrace doing a lot of different tasks. Like every week is a new adventure. Um, there's that. Man, I keep on like gushing or like expanding on your question more and more and more.
Which is
Did
wonderful,
it?
honestly. So
Okay, I'm
like,
glad. I'm glad.
yeah.
Please stop me, like, and feel free
No,
to
no, no.
ask questions again if I just went on a ramble instead
Yeah,
of
no,
like
it's totally fine.
pinpointing. I'm glad.
Yeah, so basically, y'all have Tom as your programmer, you're the
Yes.
artist. Do you have
Yes.
any musicians, any marketeers? I know that someone's mom is also on the finance side, but so uh basically, how many of the roles do you think that you guys cover, and how many do you think you'd hire for later on? Like, do you think you'd ever hire for marketing? Do you think you'd hire for music, or do you already have someone on the team for that? And what do you feel is the core of making the game that you're making? I don't know if you can talk about it. So, like,
Hmm.
is the focus on the art, on the narrative, on the action, on something else? So yeah.
Okay, let me pick the questions apart real quick. So first, the first question is, do we hire people to do stuff? Yes, absolutely.
Hmm.
Whenever we do secure funding for specific projects, or if we get a commission, for example, that brings a little bit of money in, we do hire other experts because, of course,
Okay.
we all have to learn a lot of things. So we've, for example, we do have Hannah, and she's quite knowledgeable about music, and she's a great singer. She makes great music, but
Hmm.
still, she has to work on her own tasks. So making soundtracks for our games, for example, is
Yeah.
something that she just couldn't do for us because of the resources we had. So we pay people to do that. Usually, it's people that we meet on events, like people in our network
Hmm.
that freelance for us and do work for hire. Same with programmers. I feel like when you ever talk to Tom, uh, they'll tell you that that usually programming is not a thing that there's a lot of time for when you're a CEO. So
Yeah.
we do hire additional programmers that work on specific tasks
Hmm.
um, that fit the commission or fit the specific project. So there's that. Of course, it's always a matter of funding. For example, right now, we don't have a lot of money, so marketing naturally falls to us. So me
Yeah.
and Hannah are like jumping around on TikTok and doing stuff, or hopefully soon again, because it's just there's just no other way. Although,
Hmm.
of course, hiring an expert would be extremely valuable, but it's
Yeah.
just not how it works most of the time.
Hmm.
So there's that, answering that question. And the second thing you said, what is the core of our game that we're working on? Did I
Yeah.
understand you correctly?
Like basically what is the core of the game and how does it tie to your team and their skills basically?
Okay, perfect. So our current project is called Bauhaus Bonk. The idea of this game, it's a small dexterity game where you navigate through 2D paintings in the Bauhaus style, um, moving a character that has two pivots, and you change the pivot with one click.
Oh.
Um, and it's a fun little game. And the entire idea of the game was let's just do something that's very quick, very
Hmm.
scopable and make sure we can publish it as quickly as possible in order to be more interesting for publishers in the future. Because if they
Yeah.
see, oh, you work as a studio, you've done things together, I guess we can trust you with funding and maybe you can do bigger projects as well, right?
Hmm.
So that's the idea of the game. And my job is right now to redesign the levels because we had a lot of prototyping, as in having playtesters tell us how easy and how hard some of the levels were. And when we
Yeah.
figured out, okay, this is like a good balance, we have a good like learning curve for the mechanic. It is now my job to make it look more appealing, to make it look aesthetic. So there's
Nice.
that. Then we have Luke designing the levels.
Hmm.
And then it's Tom and Hannah that are not involved in the game right now because they're working on commissions in order to make
Yeah.
it happen that we can work on the game. So a lot
Crazy.
of that is also happening. We're not always working on the same things at the same time because
It's all
funding.
over the place. Yeah, I
It's all
understand.
over the place, right?
Mm.
Exactly.
Um, that's a lot to take in in a good way. In
I'm
a good way.
talking
So
a
like,
lot.
no, it's good. It's good.
My
So
God.
I have two more questions, and then we'll flip to the students' questions, if that's okay with you.
Sure.
Um, so the first one is generally, how have you secured funding other than just doing commissions? And the second question is about your portfolio. So we'll get to that afterwards. So actually, I think they can basically kind of tie together. So generally, y'all are getting funding either from commissions or from certain funds. So what are the kind of funds that you look for? And does having a certain kind of portfolio help? And if it does, what's the portfolio like? It's a long question, I know, but yeah.
My God. You will have to refresh the question here
For
and there
sure, for
again for
sure.
my brain. It's like,
No worries.
huh? Okay. Anyway, let me try. Let me try. So the funding that we started with is a fund that is by the German state. It's called the Mediennetzwerk NRW, and they have the Film- und Medienstiftung. That's a German word, my God. But
Okay.
they have like a pot of money for a variety of projects, either games or films, within the state that I live in, North Rhine-Westphalia. And they fund, for example, concept phases. So like a small phase where you can come up with an idea for a game. They fund prototypes. So the time in which you use that idea and convert it into a prototype, and then also production. Some of these funds require that you already have some money so that they can look at your bank account and be like, okay, you guys are a reliable company that's like doing business. Some of them require that you pay back some of the money when you have success with the game, especially the production fund. Um, so that was a very, very incredibly useful resource for us that we could use. When we applied, it's always tons of paperwork. You have to make sure that you explain very well what your idea is and what you want to explore within the given time, how you want to use the money as well. You have to be very, very clear about that as well. Um, and just in general, make like a good impression, as in, hey, we know what we're doing kind of way. Um, I know that there's other funds that you can also apply for. I know, for example, the my God, Bright Gambit, for example. I know Fauzi is involved in that, right? Um, I know they will especially help people in underprivileged countries, for example, to make sure that they have that some of the like when they're, for example, having a prototype and they need to find a publisher and there's like a small gap where there's no money, Bright
Mhm.
Gambit comes in and definitely helps. I know that angel investors are a thing, so like private people that do give money. We are luckily enough supported by a few of those people as well, mainly like family and friends that gave us a bit of money so we could stay afloat when we had no commissions.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, these are the options that we used basically. There's probably way more, of course. These are the ones that we're privileged enough to have in our country that does support these type of things. Um, it's not always a lot of money,
Yeah.
and you will still have like dry spots where there's nothing coming in. But again, I want to acknowledge the fact that these things exist here in Germany, which is extremely awesome and really, really cool and
Mhm.
a huge privilege for sure.
Mhm.
So,
It's always
yeah.
fun to see, though. Yeah, for here, like for example, in the Middle East, it really depends on where you're from and what kind of things are happening and whether there are any
Mhm.
funds and a government to give such funds. So it's also like a very funny spot, I guess. It's very specific to where you're living, but at the same time, I
Mhm.
think
Truly.
looking at different people and how they got funding kind of helps you get ideas about who you can approach.
Yes,
So yeah, I think what you mentioned was really helpful, and I shared the link for Bright Gambit in our chat. So if anyone wants to check it out, they can do so. I've talked to the team; they're very sweet. So honestly,
they are.
I think they'd be fun to work with.
Yes, they give great
So yeah.
feedback too. Like they took a lot of time to actually give us feedback. We were not funded by them after all,
Hmm.
but honestly, still a very,
The
very
feedback was
nice
good.
experience. It was really good, exactly. And yeah,
Yeah.
I really want to double down on the thing that you said, the whole talk to people and find out how they got funding. That is very, very relevant. That's how it happened for us as well. We just
Hmm.
talked to other people in the industry that recommended these funds to us. So it's a
Yeah.
matter of just checking out what it is like in the place where you are developing, and make sure that you know the resources that are available to you
Hmm.
in that spot.
Very fair.
Mhm.
Awesome. And the final question is about the portfolio. So what kind of portfolio do you personally keep, and how different is it from your studio when you're applying to things? Yeah.
My portfolio is honestly just an amalgamation of the cool projects that I worked on in my free time. I
Hmm.
don't keep it up to date, unfortunately. But it has a lot of things. I showcase, for example, my rigging or like character art,
Hmm.
just modeling, sculpting, lighting, just different things that I worked on whenever I had the free time to do so.
Yeah.
And the difference between my personal portfolio that I don't really upkeep because I am luckily employed right now, and the one of our company is that we usually just showcase in there like a lot of games that we worked on.
Yeah.
And also if we know, okay, this is going to be for a client that likes or that needs a very specific thing from us, be it,
Hmm.
for example, 3D assets that have a certain look. For example, I can't talk about it in great detail, but we have a client that needs photorealistic 3D assets.
Yeah.
So, in order to apply for that commission, what we did is we gathered all the photorealistic 3D assets that I ever made and put it like in a nice lighting and made sure that we have great renders of those things in
Hmm.
order to show them, look, we're capable of doing the thing that you want from us.
Yeah.
So it's really a matter of showcasing the fact that you as a team have already done things that you or you as a person were able to do specific things. These are your strengths,
Hmm.
and just show them, and if possible, tailor them to the person that you want to do the commission for,
Yeah.
just to make sure that they immediately know what they need to know. Like it's not always going to be someone that is in that profession that's going to
Hmm.
look at it, right? It's not going to be a 3D artist that's going to look at it and be like, oh yeah, we're going to give you the job. At least not in all cases. So
Yeah.
it must be easy for them to look at the application or at your portfolio and be like, I need 3D asset that looks realistic 3D asset in the portfolio.
Yeah.
Got it. Like make it as easy as possible for them,
Yeah,
for sure.
100%.
That's what I
Awesome.
would recommend.
Cool, perfect. So to summarize, basically, when it comes to your portfolio, when you're applying to different jobs, just make sure that you read the job description and have your portfolio up to date with whatever it is they need. Especially since sometimes it's the recruiters that are looking at your stuff and not the professionals themselves. So they might know less. So that's why you have to make it as easy as possible for anyone that's checking your work out to check your work out. Is that right?
Yeah, I would put it that way as well. Whenever I
Awesome.
have like people apply for Spoonful games that are programmers, for example,
Hmm.
I don't know a whole lot about programming, but if I get like an ease into their portfolio and feel like, oh, but that sounds like cool stuff, that is
Yeah.
great. It makes me more interested.
Hmm.
So there's that.
Awesome. Cool. All right, so these were the questions that I had from my end. I guess we can open it up to questions in the chat if that's good with you.
Sure. Yeah, love
Awesome.
that. Also, I see the chat is really full. I've been ignoring it, like half, with just one eye, like, but like, let's
Yeah,
do it.
exactly. Awesome. So the first question is from Ahmad, but we answered most of it. So if you just like to go through it briefly, that would be cool. So the question was, how did you start from like your first job and how your portfolio technically looked like? And then also how did you come around finding a studio? I guess the answer is you kind of started your own studio, which is great.
Yes. Yay.
Yay. And what do you think is the call to make your own studio, and how were you able to run it through the early days, financially finding people like us, and also your own experience, or did you have people with you? I guess we also answered this, which is
Mhm.
um, you and your friends decided to work on something because might as well.
Exactly. Might as well.
Mhm.
We were all in the same spot of like, okay, we kind of need jobs. I was working on a like university project at that time,
Mhm.
in Unity, and yeah, I just needed. I knew it was going to end eventually, so
Mhm.
that's how we did it. Um, Wait, let me look at it again to see if there's anything else I can answer in that we haven't answered. How I find people, how we found people. Honestly, it's a matter of just building a network. It's
Mhm.
entirely just a thing of building a network, meeting other devs, be it in a game jam, be it in an event, whatever it is, and just
Yeah.
knowing like, oh, this person that I talked to earlier, I know they're great at doing sounds. So you will always have that person like in
In the
your
back of your head.
library, basically, exactly.
Mhm. Mhm.
Exactly.
Yeah,
So that is
absolutely.
something that works. And while funding, as I said, it's an ongoing process of making sure you know all the resources that are available and also applying for commissions and like
Mhm.
asking around if anyone has heard anything, like someone looking for something. So
Yeah,
that too.
very, very fair. Cool. All right, the next question is Cologne Game Lab doesn't accept many
It
students.
fits too, honestly. Anyway,
Yeah.
sorry.
So how did you get your portfolio up to their standards, and how were you able to stand out with no prior experience to get accepted?
Ooh, that is a really good question. My approach was texting someone that gave like a Google review to the Cologne Game Lab because I knew, okay, this person studied there. And I asked for help. It's like, hey,
Wow.
what does your application look like? I know that these days there's actually a Discord server for the Cologne Game Lab. That is specifically for this thing, where you can talk to people that have already been accepted and they can show you their portfolio. For the Cologne Game Lab, you have to make like a game concept. I have never done games before. I didn't know anything about it, so it really immensely helped me to ask this person that already had applied and look at their application and be like, okay, so these are things that someone's gonna look for. This is something that already worked beforehand, and I just applied my own game to this structure basically. And I can wholeheartedly recommend to do the same thing. Um, Generally, I feel like what also worked really well for me was that I had like a hobby that one of the professors was interested in because when I did art, I did a lot of airbrushing and
Oh.
it kind of stood out to him. It was like, that is really old school and retro that you do airbrushing. Like
Hmm.
these type of details maybe also fit. So make sure to, I don't know, just show how interesting of a person you are. I'm sure that helps.
Hmm.
And make sure that the communication is good as well because they're looking for an overall vibe, a community that works.
Yeah.
So That's also important. But ask people that have done it before. Feel free to reach out to me as well. I can totally send you my application if you're interested in that. And yeah, that's what I would
Awesome.
say.
I will probably text you for this application as well, so
Sure.
keep an eye out for your Discord.
I
Um,
feel very shy about it because it's like when I still try to do concept art, it's the shittiest art ever. But it worked. It worked.
yeah.
So there's that.
I
There's
mean, I
that.
guess it showed some drive. It showed that you were willing to learn and experience and grow. So they're like, you know what?
Yeah,
Might as well. Let's get her
true.
in.
True, true.
Awesome. Cool. All right. So next question is from John, and it's what's the minimum number of people or roles you'd recommend to form a small game dev studio? So
Mm.
nothing triple A.
Okay. That is a good question. The thing is, the more people you have, the more people need to financially rely on the funding that you get. So that
Mm,
is going to make it harder. I know one
okay.
studio, for example, in Germany, they're called the Poly Pirates, and they're just two founders. So all the additional work, all the arts, for example, they outsource, and it works really well for them because at least they don't have to when you hire freelancers for specific tasks, you don't have to make sure that you can pay them the entire time, right? Because they're not your
Yeah.
employees. They're not the core that needs to be financially maintained at all times. Although I wish we
Mhm.
could always maintain all of our friends financially. That would be so cool.
Yeah.
So I would honestly say there's no minimum number. Maybe being alone would be really tough because of all the paperwork.
Mhm.
But in general, as long as you feel that your team is that you work really well with your team, you have great communication, you have great problem solving skills together. Two people are totally valid. Three people are fine. The more you get, the more maybe you get like tasks covered. That's cool, but also you
Yeah.
have to make sure that everyone is paid. So
Mhm.
there's like a balance that needs to be maintained, I would say.
Absolutely. And if it's okay, I'd like to add something as well to this, which is you don't really need to open your studio if you have a job. Like you can just work on this part-time. You can just enjoy making your game and take like
Yes.
10 years to finish making a passion project, especially since you'd be doing it for free on your own time and you'd be having fun. If you do want to make games for a living, that's gonna be like where the struggle starts. But if you are going to make your game by yourself with your friends for fun, even if it is a passion project that you want to finish, that's also completely valid. And you can be two, three, five people, but from a I don't know what the word is, from like a producer's perspective, um, more than seven is when things start to like kind of break down because you need to make sure that
Mm.
everyone like you're following what everyone's doing. I'm personally a fan of three to five people, which is why we at the Gaming Academy we have like a maximum of five
Mm.
per team. But yeah, don't go too big because then you're gonna need one person to manage everything instead of actually working on the stuff. So it just gets a bit complicated when you have too many people. So I like three to five, and you don't need to start a studio. You can just do it for fun and then release the game when it's done. So
It's
yeah.
really valid, honestly. You're
Mhm.
right, because as soon as there's too many people, you have to hire someone that makes sure that
Basically.
everyone is running into the same direction. It's already hard with just one person or two
Exactly.
people. I agree. And
Yeah.
also the whole doing it on the side is super, super valid. I don't know what it's like in other countries and for all of the funding opportunities, but in Germany, usually, if you want to get funded, you need to be a company. So there's that. But also, there nothing speaks against working on a game and then founding the company and already having a strong prototype that you can then start applying with. That works too. I know a lot of people that have done that as well. For example, Ludopium, they made Vectronom, great, wonderful rhythm-based game, totally recommendable. Um,
Mhm.
and they did the same thing. They basically finished the game in their free time and in university as well. And then they founded their company and started applying for funding and stuff. So that works too.
Cool. Awesome. I'm glad you have like an actual example as well, not just me
Yeah, yeah.
speaking in the sky and calling it a
No, no,
day.
no. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. All right, we have a question from Emily, which is what's a common mistake that you see people who try to or succeed in making their own studios make?
Um, The scoping wrongly. It's definitely the same trap we fell into as well. It's like a meme, I feel, within the developer community of the first project that you work on, and it's this passion project, and you have all these ideas, and it's going to be this great thing, and then it's just you underestimate how much work everything else is going to be, and
Mhm.
how little time you can actually work on that project. And the scope is just unmanageable at some point, and it never really
Yeah.
gets done. It happened to us as well. We never really finished our first game because it just wasn't
Mm.
possible. We dreamed too big in a way, which is sad because it's fun, but the sad
Yeah.
reality is one of the most common mistakes that I see is people scope too big.
It's painful.
Seems like you have experience with this as well. I bet you
Yeah,
do. We've seen it a lot of times, I'm sure.
it's not fun. I
Oh
wish it was better.
no. As the
But yeah,
producer, you're probably the person that needs to also like buffer it. Be like, you guys, are you sure
basically,
about that?
calm
Oh,
down, you guys, please.
it
It's
must
really,
be hard.
it's okay. It is what it is. It's fine. Um, yeah, so next question is, how is the market for educational games these days? Is your game an educational game? Do you know much about the educational markets?
We are dabbing our toes in it. We are working on a commission right now that is an educational game. It's a game about democracy and why it's important to uphold it within society.
Interesting.
Yeah. What I usually see is that there is a market, definitely.
Hmm.
Um, but they have whole different rules for funding. Like they have different funds and
Mm,
different ways they need to apply for it, and different people that maybe don't know a lot about games that are approving these type of funds, from what I can tell. So it's a whole different process in a way. Also a lot of people, as soon as you leave the game industry in a way, you are confronted with the fact that people have no idea how long it takes and how much it costs to do things.
mm,
So, from what I've heard from the educational games market, is that they are struggling with how little funding they get because people that give these type of funds just have no idea how long it takes to make a game. Like,
yeah.
what do you mean you need to work years on a Fortnite copy? Can't we just have
Yeah.
it in like a month? I don't understand. Like, that seems to be an issue for sure.
Mm-mm, absolutely. Yeah, I did
That's
have an
what I can
experience
say
with
about it.
this.
Sorry.
No, thank you. Yeah, I was gonna say I did have a bit of an experience with this as well. Someone from a school asked me like, "Hey, can you create a game for us that does this, this, and that?" I was like, "Yeah, sure. This is gonna cost around 10 to 20,000." And they were like, "What?" I'm like, "I didn't even tell you what this takes." And they're like, "Okay, I'll like." And then she like her eyes kind of like popped out. She's like, "Okay, what's happening?" So I'm like, "Yeah,
Yes.
so you're gonna have to hire like 1 to 2 programmers, maybe like 2 to 3 artists, and then you're going to need someone to also make the music for you. And then you're going to need to pay for the engine if that's needed. If not, then that's fine. So you're going to need like 4 months maybe to work on that. So assuming that everyone gets paid like $200 to $300, then maybe we'll be done with the game by the end of the year. And she was like, I think I'll just stick to teaching them numbers on the board. I'm like, yeah, that's
Oh my
probably a good idea.
God.
So
Bummer. It's such a bummer because it's so useful and like a wonderful
basically,
field for sure. But
yeah, yeah.
yeah, that's the thing. We've had a few people that wanted to commission us as well, and their call was, "Oh, we talked to these other people, this other studio, and they told us it was
Mhm.
going to cost this much, but
Yeah.
they're probably just ripping us off, right?" And you're like, "No." Genuinely, they were giving you a very, very good price.
Yeah.
But they expect you to be like, of course they were ripping you off. It's way cheaper.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's the thing
Mm.
of being in your profession and dabbling toes with people that
Hmm.
don't know how long things take.
Yeah,
I share your
absolutely.
experience.
Hmm.
Like,
Hmm. And
what?
exactly. And this is why basically, guys, whenever you're scoping for your game, start with one mechanic. Make one mechanic work and then start adding more things. This is for anyone that's never made a game before. So do one thing. Run or jump or shoot. Do one of them. And then when this one is working, start with the rest. So this will get you to the point where you'll understand what Nicole and I are talking about when it comes to the scope, when it comes to how long it takes to actually make a game. So yeah.
Good
All right.
call.
Thank you. So we have another question from Ahmad, and it is, how do you go on about finding funding, especially the first initial fund to start working on the company? So you kind of mentioned that, but if you'd like to go over that again, please go for it. And the question continues and says, how does communicating with the funder or the publisher go, typically, and especially the first project of the company? He also said, I'm not sure how much collective experience all of you already have, but please mention that too. So, yeah.
Yeah, I found it. That's cool. And don't worry about having too many questions, Ahmed. That's totally fine. How do we go about finding funding? Again, it's a matter of talking to your network and hearing about different opportunities. None of us had any experience beforehand. We worked on games, but we had no experience as entrepreneurs, as people that like make actual business.
Hmm.
And one of the things that we came across while talking to our network, for example, was a funding that is called the Gründerstipendium in Germany. And what it is they basically fund people that just newly start their companies. It's not specific to
Mm.
games. It's whatever startup there is, you can apply for this and maybe win like a type of funding, or like a scholarship is not the right word, but yeah,
Yeah.
just money to support you for a while. So honestly, know your network, know the people in your surroundings that have like devs in your country, in your area, and make sure that they just ask them how it worked for them. That's what I would recommend you. That's how we did it. A lot of research as well in order to find out what options exist.
Yeah.
And as far as the communication goes, hmm, I would say mutual respect is very important. The luckiest thing that can happen is that you meet them at events, for example, or just in general that you have like good conversations with them, so they remember you in a way. I feel like this is a general tip for networking. If you talk to someone, make sure that you just connect with them and not make them feel like you need something from them, like you're
Hmm.
just like they're useful to you in a way, because
Yeah.
people can feel that. People can feel when it's not authentic. So try to be genuine, try to be authentic when you talk to them. Respectful, of course, friendly, of course. And I feel like that's been helping us a lot, that just people know us because when we're at events, we make dumb jokes. We're like funny and ask them stuff, like it kind of works. So that's what I will recommend. Maybe Ash has also some tips. What do you think?
Yeah. The first thing I would mention is spray and pray. So like if you have a game concept, just send it out. Send it out to whoever and
Mm.
whatever. Anyone that has money, anyone that has anything, just send it to them. Who cares? Well, the worst thing they can do is say no, especially if the project isn't like um epoopoo.com or something. Like if it's like a good project that exists, worst thing they can say is, "Oh, I don't care about this," and then they'll put it to the side. Sorry about the dogs, by the way. Um, oh, if you can't hear it, that's
We
great.
can't
Okay,
hear them. Now I want to
fantastic.
hear and
Okay.
see dogs. I can't believe this.
I'll send you pictures of my dog later on.
Thank you, please.
Um, of course. So, yeah, for finding the first fund, it's always good to show that you have a bit of experience in whatever it is you're doing. So let's say that you are a game programmer and you are applying to a fund related to technology, not games, okay? Then you have to prove to them that you have an understanding of what a tech stack is and how it works. If you are applying for an art fund, then you have to show people that you can make beautiful art and you're just using games as a form of interactive art. If you're applying for a music fund, you can talk about how music interacts with games and allows you to express your music in a much better way. If you're applying for a games fund, then you have to show them that you can make games and that the games are things that they'd be interested in. Um, Again, worst case scenario, all they're going to say is no. So that's totally fine. When communicating with them, you can either email them or you can find them in different areas and stuff. If, for example, you're in a place where different startups meet up and all that jazz, you can go talk to the startups because, yes, it's the games industry. Yes, it's expensive. Yes, not everyone understands it, but you will find funders there. So it might not be exactly what you're looking for, but it's better than nothing. So just go around, talk to people, ask people about their experiences, and if you know anyone that's starting something or has successfully started something, talk to them. If you haven't, find out where people start things and go talk to them. This is what I did with one of my initiatives. I signed it up to a startup initiative and it got accepted, and I got to meet different people that have done different stuff from all over Lebanon. And now I'm still in contact with them, and they're great people and they're wonderful. And I'm just watching how they are growing their own companies and kind of expanding on that in my own projects by, extrapolating whatever it is that I'm learning. So, yes, the question kind of veered away from funding, but generally just try to find where people generally get money from and follow the money. So yeah. Awesome. All right, next question is Bauhaus design in the public domain yet? So is it available for people to wishlist or follow or not yet?
You mean the game or you mean
Yeah,
the
the game
Bauhaus
you
itself? Okay, okay.
I think the game you're working on is
Okay,
the
fair enough.
question.
Bauhausbank will be our Steam page will be released around Gamescom because we're anticipating to get a lot of hopefully wish lists while exhibiting at
Hmm.
Gamescom. So if you happen to be there, come meet us at the in the area in the arena booth.
Definitely.
Exactly. So it's still a prototype, a strong prototype, and we're gonna yeah go hopefully publish it next year by the beginning of next year. That's the goal so far.
Awesome. Very, very fun. Great. So the next question is by another Ahmad. This is a question that I'd
Hello.
love both to hear. Hi, Ahmad. So this is a question that I'd love to hear both of your inputs on it. When considering to attend bigger events such as Gamescom and DEF CON, what should I keep in mind to make the most of my time spent there? My experience is more along the lines with local events, but I'd love to pick your brains on this part. So,
Mm,
do you want to go first?
sure, I can try. So, I would recommend you definitely to go local because, as I said earlier, or as we've mentioned earlier, you will get to meet people that have done the things that you want to do in your area, so they know what the possibilities are, what the resources are. That's very, very valuable. I feel like big events like DEF CON, Gamescom, GDC in San Francisco, those are amazing experiences overall, just as a human being. Awesome.
Hmm.
Um, if you ever have the chance to attend them, I would definitely recommend doing so. But I know it's not a very accessible thing for sure, because we're talking about thousands of euros or dollars or whatever that need to be spent into these things. And I feel like you can achieve the same thing of having a network by being present online, by being in local events as well. So I feel like it's not n- necessary to go to such big events in order to build a network, but it
Yeah.
can be extremely helpful and valuable because also they're very inspiring. You get to, like, I remember, for example, I ran into Andrew Price at GDC this
Wow.
year, like the Blender guru.
Hmm.
Like just imagine like meeting people that you've seen on like screens and you know them and it's just feels awesome. It's really, really cool. But again, I don't feel like it's necessarily like an important thing to do.
Hmm.
You can also do that on Twitter to connect with people or yeah, local events.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, and again, the same thing I said earlier, make sure that if you connect with people, whether it's local or DEF CON or Gamescom or whatever it is,
Hmm.
just have conversations with them, meet them. They're human beings like you. And make sure that you don't make them feel like they're a resource to you,
Yeah.
like something that oh, so what do you do? Do you have money? Like, oh, so are you a publisher? Can you like
Yeah.
maybe, like I don't think that works. My experience is have genuine connections with people, be authentic, and they will remember you. And then you will build a network naturally this way that will just shelter you within the industry
Hmm.
and other way around as well.
Yeah,
What do you think,
absolutely.
Ash?
Honestly, wonderfully said. Like you stole some of the points I had in mind. Well, I
Haha.
guess it's a shared brain cell, but that's okay. Um, So I do have a few more things maybe to add. So it depends on what kind of event you're going to. If you're going to GDC or DevCom, definitely attend the talks, especially the ones you're interested in, because the people in the room are going to be interested in the same thing you're interested in. So if you decide to talk to them and you find out that they work at Blizzard, you just made a friend at Blizzard, for example. And notice what I said. I said you made a friend at Blizzard. So what you're doing is you're trying to get to meet people that like the same things you do or that might help you out later on. But you're not really looking for people to um get you the in basically.
Mhm.
Because if you do this, just like Nicole said, you're gonna be inauthentic. Let's just play this out, okay? Let's say that I meet someone that's working at, I don't know, someone that worked on Hollow Knight, for example. I really like Hollow Knight. So, like, let's say I just, run into them and I'm like, oh my God, you made Hollow Knight. That's crazy cool. I'm a programmer. I work on a bunch of games too. If y'all ever need someone, you can hit me up. Haha. That's one way to go about it. Or I could go, oh my gosh, Hollow Knight, that's amazing. My brother actually 3D printed like a small figurine for me once. I'd love to show it to you. And then I show it to him and he's like, oh, that's so cool. And then we just both go our separate ways. What I just did is I showed him that I exist as a person, and I showed him that I'm a fan of his game. So if the conversation goes on further, he might ask, "So what are you doing here?" And I'd be like, "Oh, so I'm a programmer. I'm from Lebanon. I do this, this, and that. And what about you?" And then I'd be like, "Haha, I actually already know everything about you." So that might make it awkward or funny, depending on the situation. But
Yeah.
um, basically just go around, make friends, watch talks you're interested in, and if you have certain things that you need from someone, set up a meeting with them.
Mm.
Because when you set up a meeting, they're going to be like, okay, so this dude is talking to me because he wants this from me. And because it is a mutual interaction, they have to agree to the meeting and you have to set it up. So in this case, you can talk business directly with like no need for the friend making part. Um, so generally to make the most of your time, make friends, attend talks, and set up meetings with whatever your focus is. Um, I hope this answers your question, but that's basically like the three most important points in my opinion.
Yeah, you did answer it. Like, well, I feel the same way.
Awesome.
I feel like whenever I meet people, they're very stressed about, oh, I have to attend this thing and this thing and this thing, and I made 10 appointments on that day. I feel like as long as you're not looking for something specific, it's a perfectly valuable approach to just go with the flow. I feel
Yeah.
like a lot of genuine connections happen when you just happen to stand at the right spot at the right time and hanging
Mhm.
out with someone that also wants to have a good time. Remember that there are people that want to have a good time and are just excited as you are to be there. So just just go with the flow. Don't make
Mhm.
it like a thing where you're extremely stressed and just wear yourself out within 2 days and I can't sleep, can't breathe, can't do anything just because it's so exhausting.
Mhm.
Enjoy it. Enjoy it and enjoy it with other people as well.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's definitely a valid way to spend your time at such conferences.
Mhm.
As Ash said, go to talks that you're interested in. If that's a thing, cool. Go to the parties that you're interested in.
Mhm.
There's a lot of cool things happening at conventions and like events, so
Yeah.
enjoy it.
Absolutely. And also, please take a break afterwards because you're gonna come back home exhausted. So,
Yes.
like, schedule like one extra day of like dying in bed or something.
Yes.
Yeah.
I feel like a
Um,
day is very optimistic. I damn.
yeah,
Sometimes I'm out of order for a whole week of just like, oh my goodness, what happened?
agreed.
So
Very, very fair. All right, awesome. So we have a few more questions. Where can we get in touch with you? Do you prefer LinkedIn, Discords? Is there anything specific?
You can get in touch with me through Discord, actually. I
Okay,
feel like that's a good thing. Or just LinkedIn works too. LinkedIn works too.
okay,
It's just that my name is impossibly long in German.
no worries.
But I can post a LinkedIn. Wait,
Sure. We'll send it in the group if you'd like later on in the Discord server in a bit.
okay, cool. That's awesome. Let's do it like that then, so I don't lose
Awesome.
time like
Sure,
looking for
sure.
that. But connect with me on LinkedIn. I'd love that. And ask me questions if you do have questions. And the portfolio I can also send later. So my
Awesome.
art station.
Perfect. So another question as well is, do you need to be a gamer to get into game development? And they mean that for the programming side. This is
Ah,
from Afnan.
for the programming side. I don't know about the programming side. I feel like a lot of people that I met in the industry, for example, the guy that came from aeronautics, he, I don't know if he played a lot of games. I know that I would personally say for a designer, it is very vital that you play a lot
Hmm.
of games just to know about different mechanics and just
Yeah.
have a feeling about things that work well or not. So I don't know. Honestly, I can't say for sure about the programming part. I guess it makes sense to know games, even if you don't actively play them,
Yeah.
in order to understand the systems, maybe. What would you say, Ash? You have like programming experience, right? You?
Yeah, so I wouldn't say that you need to know all of the games that you're going to be programming, but it's good to be familiar with them. So, for example, let's say you're making a clone of the original 2D Mario. If you've never played the game, you might not know what the jump feels like, and you may end up making
Mm.
a jump that works, but that doesn't feel good. So, um, if I'm answering the question directly, I would say you don't need to play games to know how to program them, but you do need to know games to know if you're programming them correctly, if that makes sense. Because you want the game to feel good while you're playing it. And a lot of people I know program games that they don't like to play because they're better at programming, for example, first-person shooters than strategy games. But they also
Mm.
really love to play strategy games. So you don't need to be good at what you play to make what you want to make, but you need to be good at you need to just understand the concept. You don't need to be
Mhm.
good at it, if that kind of answers the question.
I feel like that makes sense.
Mm, awesome.
Again, as with designers as well.
Yeah,
I feel like if you understand, if you appreciate certain things about games or understand why things are good or work well, that gives you an edge while working on them, for sure.
absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, I would add if you are gonna go in as a designer, definitely. If you're going in as a programmer, it's it's better. But yeah. All right, so we have a question from Lean from Discord. So it was how long did it take you to become who you are now and to start your work?
Okay, so I studied game arts. I started in 2016, finished my studies, did my bachelor's degree in 2020, and did like on-off little projects or just worked on my portfolio until 2021. And in July 2021, actually next week on Tuesday, I founded the Spoonful Company with my commilitons. And so we've always been almost 3 years we've been working as a team. That's like a rough timeline of how I got to be where I am right now. If you're interested in like
Awesome.
artist type of view, like how long did it take me as an artist to get to where I am? Um, yeah, that is hard to say. I would say I really started to dig into 3D in 2020, so about 4 years roundabout-ish.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, to do the stuff that I do.
Very, very fair. Awesome. All right, so next question. I guess from here on out, let's try to answer them a tiny bit more quickly,
Oh,
because
yeah,
I
you
don't
have
want to
your
take up
meeting.
too much of your time.
And you've got your
Uh,
meeting. I've got a lot of
yeah.
time, but I want to make sure that you don't meet your like miss yours.
Oh, don't worry about it.
Stop
Oh, I'm
rambling.
I'm fine.
Okay. Just
Uh,
scream really loudly when we need to stop. Like, enough.
sounds
Okay.
good. Also, with the mic closed, I can do that.
Awesome.
All right. So, do you know anything about the market of serious games, as in training and teaching people in some industry?
Um, the serious games again.
So,
So, as in, do I know the market? Do I know? Wait, can
yeah.
I? Where's the
So the
question?
question is at your time, 6:06 p.m. by Michelle.
6 Thank you. That helps.
Hmm.
Ah, yeah, serious games. Okay. Again, I know that it's a field that is a little bit tough because usually the people that give the funding don't know a lot about games,
Hmm.
and we are the experts that they hire, right? And it makes it hard sometimes to convince them that the things cost as much as you say they're gonna cost.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know much more than that, because we haven't done a lot of work for them. Like one, we worked on like on off on a few commissions. I would say it's a good field, an important field, that has a little more constraints because you need people that actually have like know what they're doing in
Hmm.
their educational value, I guess.
Yeah.
So additional people that you have to put in your team or that have to influence the game.
Hmm.
That's what I would say.
Absolutely. Yeah, I completely agree. And I would say that the serious games is kind of a spectrum. So I've had people that have asked me if I can help them make something that helps doctors view people in 3D so they can like perform certain types of surgeries. And I've had people that have created serious games that dealt with depression, for example. So depending on where the scale of what a serious game is, you're gonna have different kinds of audiences. So for the first project I talked about, um, we did not have any game developers on it, but we did have programmers that used Unity to do the thing. In the second one, we did have game programmers and game designers because we needed people to actually get the feeling correct through a game. Because, for example, like someone that's like a movie producer might know how to do it if it's linear, but you need a game designer to explain to people how to do it if it's something that people are going to play and interact with. So the market exists. The market is slowly starting to use more of well, not our, like the game tools that exist, but well, not but, and it still has a lot to grow. So yeah, we'll see where we'll get in the next coming years.
Good
Um,
call.
hmm. So Afnan also said that after hearing this, I'm thinking about how we'll be creating a game in a short time. You're giving us as a beginner. Yes, so this is why I was saying make something tiny, small, small, tiny. And once you do the small, tiny thing, then you start expanding your game. So yeah, please don't make Elden Ring. Um, Right. So a follow-up question from Ahmad. He's
Mhm.
not in Germany, and he's in a company that doesn't favor making companies and really doesn't have any local publishers or funding. Um, I think you mean he's in a country that doesn't favor. I'm not sure.
Mhm.
Do we have a shot of finding proper funding remotely? Also, for the initial funding, you come across other options such as Bread Gambit. Could you fill as the first Kickstarter? Um, do you want to answer that? Do you want to go for it, Nicole?
It's hard for me to answer that one because I, of course, know a lot about the situation in Germany and not much about your situation.
Hmm.
To me, it sounds like a matter of having to reach out to people that have experience or maybe finding like angel investors. And in either case, I feel like what would help is um, show people your idea, like write a lot of people, text a lot of people with your idea, and
Hmm.
see if anyone like Rami has this cool way of saying it. Uh, that's listen for something that's not a no. Like people
Yeah.
will not immediately say yes, especially if you don't have a prototype. But if they don't give you a no, that's like an in. That's already like a valid feedback.
Hmm.
So maybe that could be a start. But of course, that's not gonna pay your bills if there's no money involved yet.
Yeah.
In that case, I would also recommend, as Ash has said earlier, maybe work on something else that will help you secure like money and be safe and comfortable. And meanwhile, work on the project until you maybe have a prototype that you can show to people.
Hmm.
Just to make sure that it's not something that is also supposed to pay your bills immediately.
Yeah.
I've seen it work for a lot of people. They don't found their company immediately and just like do it on the side and then they can start securing funding with that prototype
Hmm.
without financially bankrupting themselves
Yeah.
meanwhile, which is
Absolutely.
cool.
100%. Also, the point of a prototype is to prove to publishers that you know how to do the thing. So if you can create a prototype, first of all, you'll know that what your strengths and weaknesses are. You'll know what you need to do to hire people, and you'll know what to ask for from publishers. Um, Also, reach out to game developers all over. Ask them what they think. Nicole has mentioned Rami Ismail multiple times. You can just reach out to him. He's very easy to get a hold of. Just ramismail.info or something of the sort,
Mm-hmm.
and you can like book a session with him. Especially if you're from the global south, you get a 20 minutes free consultation, so you can talk to him. But I would highly recommend you talk to him after you have something concrete to talk about, or else you're just going to be staring at each other and be like, "So, how's the weather up there?" So, so, so yeah, like talk to developers, but also think of create something, and then reach out. So that's something you can definitely do. Um,
I agree.
awesome.
He's a great person, wonderful person to talk to, very
Hmm.
inspiring. So he
Yeah.
might have ideas for your specific case.
Mm-hmm. 100%. So Lean also asked what's your studio's name and what are some games you made? And someone replied with Spoonful dot games. John, is that
That's
correct?
it.
Yippee. Awesome.
Yeah,
Um,
we've worked on a variety of little titles. You can see them on our website actually. From like small educational games, for example, like Can't Wait to Learn, maybe you've heard about that, or different projects. But we haven't done like an in-house game yet. That's what we're working on still. I
mhm.
feel like we fell into the trap that many indie studios fall into. This the first title that needs to be published. It's so hard.
Yeah,
So hopefully it's gonna be Bauerspunk eventually.
exciting. Very exciting.
Yay.
Awesome. All right, so we have one, two, three more questions, I think. So I saw that you volunteered in 2020. Do you recommend to do that to start getting work experience?
Yeah, generally I would recommend that. It's gonna be tough depending on what type of event it is for sure. I've seen a little like people really be constantly pushed from A to B to do stuff. But I feel like it's also a great chance to meet a lot of cool people, get inspired as well, and just it's a great in into the events for sure.
Hmm.
For me, it was really cool. I really enjoyed just talking to people and noticing that I'm not alone in my struggles for sure.
Yeah.
And that yeah, we're all nerds that wanna like get it in and want to do what they love. So it's a cool way, but prepared to work a lot and hard for sure.
Hmm. Yeah. We
That's
also
the
have
thing.
volunteering positions open at the Gaming Academy if you want to join. Haha.
You heard them, guys.
Right. Wonderful. So, we have a question from Arlie who asked, "How did you make your portfolio?" So, like, did you insert everything, meaning from the projects, or that you made from the start, or just the best ones? Also, how can I make my portfolio stand out from the rest? Do you suggest we start making our own portfolio from now, or once we get a bit more of an idea on how to develop the games or animation?
Wait, I just want to reread it real quick and just
Yeah,
start
sure,
step by
sure.
step early. Uh, okay, so my own portfolio was basically just whatever I thought was a cool thing that I did, and I added it in there and tried to put a lot of variety in so people can see, okay, she does like maybe rigging or I needed to do some cool lighting. So that's the thing. Or concept art. Like I just put in like a variety of things. I know that's not always the way to go. Sometimes if you want a very specific position, let's say for example, you want to specialize in character art, then it is very important that your portfolio shows that specific thing. So someone that is going to give you a job knows, okay, this person knows what they're doing. So that's definitely something I would recommend. Like focus on the things that you want to do, basically. I have a friend, for example, that does sound, and he really wants to work in sound design for AAA for like sci-fi sounds. And he has never worked on a project that has that, but he just did a lot of things in his free time for his portfolio that are that because that's where he wants to go. So this way he can show these companies that he's good at these things. Um, so do the things you want to do in your portfolio so people can see that you're good at doing those specific things. Also, me really made from the start, just the best projects. Um, yeah, I also fall into the trap of wanting to post the things that I like most, for sure.
Hmm.
That I feel most confident in. But again, it's a matter of is that project showing the things that you want to show and work in? because even if it's like not the one you're proudest of, it might still be interesting for your employee, your potential employee to see, okay, but they've done it, you've encountered this specific problem and worked on it. So I would again say double down, do the things that you want to do, show them in your portfolio. And it's okay to like choose the ones that you like best, as long as they show what your skills are.
Mhm.
Um, how to make it stand out? That's tough. That's really tough. Um,
Make something better than everyone else.
mind blown. I guess. Okay, let me just think about my own experience. I would say when I look at a portfolio, um, I feel like the things that stand out to me are the ones where I feel like the person did something that they had fun doing, like something that's like creative and came out of the deepest caverns of their brain. Um,
كتير على الميوت
so
هون.
I agree with whatever was just said. Anyway, yeah, do yay. Sorry, you guys, my brain got distracted immediately. Um, just things that are creative and that are fun, stand out to me. So if you're in a position where you can really work on your portfolio, uh, do things that are really cool to you, that are creative, that just tickle your brain in the right way, and chances are it's gonna tickle someone's brain as well. So that's maybe something that can help stand out. But it's tough for sure. There's great artists. Everyone that owns ArtStation knows that. Don't go on the main page. Don't be discouraged by all these amazing people. Just do your thing.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
do you suggest we start making our portfolio from now, once we get a bit more idea on how to develop games and animation? Depends what it is that you want to do with that portfolio. I would say if you want to apply for a company and be an animator at that company, it makes sense to have something that is animation, that shows that you do animations. So again, do the things you want to do in your portfolio. Um, yeah, but if you want to get into a university, for example, that teaches you animation, it makes sense to have like something in your portfolio that's artsy, or it shows that you're able to learn skills, acquire skills, um, and just understand aesthetics, I guess
Mhm.
I would say.
Yeah. One thing I would probably add is just on the last sentence, which is, do you suggest we start making our portfolio from now or once we get a bit more idea on how to develop games and animation? I would say build your portfolio by learning about developing games and animation. Like if you want to get into games and animation, but you don't want to start with that, then where will you start? So might as well start by, and basically what I'm saying is instead of making some warm-up characters just to create your first characters, might as well make a game character for your game portfolio, So like there doesn't need to be a step -1. You can just directly start at step 1, which is develop a portfolio for a game that you'd be interested in working in. Um, just a quick example. One of my friends and previous instructors here, Dalia Khudr, she won second place for a game called Wayne, which means where in Arabic. It's not an actual game. It's just the art for a game about a kid and his giant sea monster. It's really, really cool. I'll write the name in the chat, Wayn. And if you look it up with Dalia Khudr, you should be able to find it out sooner or later. It looks really pretty. I really wanted to play the game, and then I found out it doesn't exist. So she created a portfolio for a game that didn't exist, and that was good enough. So, you know, just don't worry about it. All right. So next question is by Jayda, and I hope I said your name right. Jayda, صح? Yes. Um, so how different is marketing in the gaming industry? Does your team use specific strategies to build and maintain a strong identity with your projects and games?
Oh no. Oh, the old question of marketing. How is it different? I would say it's not different. It's identify your target audience, find out what the platforms are that they use and how you can approach them. So I would say that's a very general marketing thing for sure.
Mhm.
And how our team does it, honestly, it's tough because most of the time we're not able to work on marketing because everything else is just crashing and burning. So you have to fix like everything else. But when we do marketing, our approach so far has been to just do stuff that we found funny, and like that we enjoyed doing, and it kind of resonated with people. You can, for example, check us out on TikTok. We should be called Spoonful Games there. And it's just us being silly, and somehow it worked. People liked the stuff that we were doing because it seemed, I hope, authentic to them. So again, authenticity, I think, is very important and will always go a great way or a long way in making people think about you or remember you in a way. So there's that. And also, what is very good when you do marketing for games, try out a lot of different things. Do a lot of different things. In this case, for example, we're doing TikTok because it's everyone uses it. It's a bummer, but it's reality. So really just try to put yourself out there. Do a lot of things, and some things will work. And that's great, even if it's like something that even if people respond to it in a negative way, I guess it's still people are responding and it's being seen. And if people don't see it at all, nothing happened. You didn't lose anything. So just put it out there. Just put out there whatever you find funny, whatever is fun to you to create. That showcases your game, that showcases your studio, whatever your strategy is in that case. We try to do a mix of both. Um, and see what sticks. And if it's something that is fun, even better. So that would be our approach so far. And I feel like I can tell you more about this in a year once we started a marketing campaign for Bauhaus Bank, because we're planning it right now and like trying to figure out what some of the formats could be that are fun. And honestly, we'll see. We'll see how it goes. So there's
Yeah,
that.
awesome. Um, to summarize, well, what I would also suggest is throw things at a wall and see what sticks. If you
Yes.
get if a tweet suddenly blows up for some reason, or if a TikTok that you made about you just being like, please buy my game, you guys, blows up, great, that's wonderful. Who knows? The internet is a wild, wild place, so you never know what works. Um, if you guys are interested, we can probably try to get a marketing session up because I see a lot of marketing questions. So if you'd like that, that's something for later, but please let me know in the server. Okay.
Please
All right,
let
I
me know
think
once that happens.
yeah, absolutely. Don't
Asking
worry
for a
about it.
friend.
We'll sneak you in. I mean, we'll sneak your friend in.
Thank you for my friend.
Awesome. All right. So, I guess we will have to stop here for today. If anyone has any more questions, you can send them on Discord and we will answer them when we can. Nicole, thank you so, so much. Honestly, this was a ton of fun. So it
Thank
was
you, it
great to have you.
was.
And everyone, thank you for attending. This will be up on YouTube as well in hopefully 24-ish hours. And if anyone has any questions, just throw them on Discord and we will answer them as soon as we can. As a final thing, just please